welcome to Sunset Sessions, episode number 2. Thank you to everybody for the feedback that you gave. I really do appreciate it. It really has helped. It's helped me make a couple of my own decisions, make a couple of my own choices. And yeah, let's get into it. Let's get into it for today. As usual, I am your ordinary host, Keegan. And today we are going to be talking about two things that we touched on in the first video. The first one is, do you give yourself permission to fail in your journey, in your life, with your friends, with your family? That's the first one. Okay. And the second one is, how often do you double check your relationships? Whether it be friends, whether it be family, do you, hold yourself as well as your friends accountable to your friendship, to the bond, to the connection that you guys have? Because life is a very funny thing. As you grow, certain things need to change. Okay, let's get into it. Right, so do you give yourself permission to fail? No is the easy answer. We aren't allowed to. We are taught in school, we are taught growing up, we are taught through competition. The whole point of doing is to be the best at something, to win. No, it's not. It shouldn't be. It can be. There's certain things you can be great at and you can be good at, that you should be competing in. Nothing wrong with that. But everything, I suck at drawing. I hate it. I suck at almost everything artistic. Whether it be drawing, whether it be painting, whether it be singing, whether it be dancing, I think I'm terrible at them. So I don't do a lot of them. Oh, how I've missed out. I do sing badly. Play musical instruments. Badly. I dance, in my opinion, badly. And I'm a little bit envious when it comes to people that are artistic, because I think it is such an amazing thing to be able to have a craft and excel at it. So instead of competing, instead of putting myself in a position where somebody would get to notice that I'm bad at something, I just don't do it. So I miss out, nobody else. But it takes away from everybody else, in my opinion, because then I'm not being myself. What are you bad at? Talking? Listening? Expressing yourself? Dancing? Singing? Reading? Learning? All of those things that we do are really big. But what about the really, really small things that we don't even call skills that we need to have? Are you allowed to fail at trying something new? Are you allowed to fail at attempting to change who you are as a person? Or aren't you? Is it against the rules for you to try something new? Because if it is, you're missing out on a lot, on so many things. Because you don't need that level of disappointment within yourself. That little voice of doubt that sits right here at the back of your head. You don't need it. But sometimes you choose it. Sometimes you pick that is the thing that needs to be around. And sometimes, yes, it comes from your social circle. Sometimes, yes, it comes from your family. Sometimes, yes, it comes from your partner or partners or sneaky link or whatever you want to call it. Talking stage, this other one. Sometimes that's where it comes from. So how do you wiggle your way out of that without necessarily, because there's two options, hurting the person, people, either one, or without doing that? Because sometimes it's a really small adjustment that you want. Sometimes it's a really small thing that needs to be discussed, said, thought about, just so that you can hear the other person's opinion. And that's important. It's valuable. It has immense value in you being able to take yourself out of the situation and say, this is what's affecting me and this is how. Is it the way that I want it to affect me, or is it not? Is it a different way? Because once you can do that, once you can feel what adjustments need to be made, how adjustments need to be made, it makes life a whole lot easier for you to be you. And then nobody will lose out. Because you will not feel like you are pretending. You will not feel as though you are being ignored. You will not feel as though you have to hide. You will not feel as though you are being manipulated by the circles that you are in. And you'll be happy. Because you'll find yourself in spaces that you want to be in. You would not put yourself willingly in spaces where you don't belong, in spaces where you do not want to find yourself for some or other reason. And that work that you do is important, because it makes you authentic, real, vulnerable, and in turn it helps you grow. And that's pretty important. That's pretty valuable, in my opinion. But if you look at that and then you say, the reason that I can't be myself is because this group of people, this space, does not want to let go of who I was in order to acknowledge who I currently am. And that's a big thing. That's an important thing. So don't forget that. Okay? And when we move over to trying to understand, do we need to make adjustments? Do we need to make changes? Do we need to have conversations? Do we need to share our feelings? Within these spaces, we assume it should be easy. But we haven't been doing it. We haven't been taking the time to do that. So how can it be easy? How can it be simple? How can it be something we expect to be good at when that's not a thing that we can do? That's not a thing we even necessarily understand. But then we take that and now we move to question number 2, where we start talking about, how do you hold your friends accountable when you can't hold yourself accountable? How do you adjust your friendship circles when you can't even adjust yourself? And if you can't adjust yourself, why is it fair that you expect other people to adjust? Why is it fair that if you aren't willing to take the risk to explain, this is who I am, to the next person, because you're scared, because it's a space you've never done it in, because you're worried that you're going to be judged, because you're concerned that people aren't going to want to be your friends anymore? So many different things. There's hundreds of other choices. Whether it be the fact that people's not going to choose you, because in your head you are not supposed to be thinking or even hearing that I'm saying you need to give an ultimatum. It's not that. It's not I'm going to be your friend or that other person is. No. This is the problem that I have with that person. Is that the type of person that you want in your life? If that person says yes, it is on you now to decide. Is that someone I want to be around or not? You need to make individual choices, your choices. I do not expect somebody to make a choice on my behalf that I'm going to keep and I'm going to stick to. That doesn't make any sense. I'm going to end up resenting that person because they're making decisions that aren't necessarily in line with who it is that I want to be. So now you have moved from being the person pursuing your individuality, pursuing who it is that you want to be. You've now gone from that to this kind of mixed masala of who other people want you to be, who other people dictate you to be. Terrible move, bad choice, naughty. Do something different. Okay? But also, sometimes that's confronting your parents. Sometimes it's having the really, really difficult conversation with your parents. A decision or a choice or a moment in your life where that relationship changed in its entirety. And sometimes, yes, we can't have that conversation. But how many people even know that that's a conversation that needs to or wants to be had? Sometimes you need to confront your siblings. Sometimes you need to confront your friends. And in confronting your friends, you need to understand that it is not meant to be confrontational. Unless there's a major problem. I'm not saying don't have problems. I'm just saying when you're checking the books on your friendships, when that is what you are doing, why would you want aggression to be in that space? Would you not want it to be a calm space? Would you not want it to be comfortable? Would you not want it to be safe? So that you can say whatever it is that you want to say without being judged, without being told you aren't allowed to, without being manipulated, without being lashed out at. But in order to avoid those things, you also need to be a better person. You need to be, and I'm not going to say a bigger person, because you don't need to be bigger than your people to talk to them. You just need to make decisions in a way that offers opportunity. Don't say that your friends never want to talk to you about your family life, but every time someone asks how you are, you drop that classic line, I'm fine, I'm good, things are okay. Because if this really is someone you want to be your friend, you need to open up to that person. You need to say, yo, dude, I'm having a problem at home. Blah, 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 and go for it. And let that other person fail. Let that other person pass. Let that other person say, I don't know what type of answer you want from me. Because that's what it's about. That is what constantly helps redefine friendships, connections, bonds. Is that not why we're here? Is that not what we want to do? Is that not what we are trying to achieve? Or are we just collecting people and calling them our friends when they know nothing about us? They know nothing about our lives. They know nothing about how we feel. Sounds like a waste to me. Sounds like a trap. Sounds like a deception. Sounds like manipulation. Sounds like we need to do better. Because I hear so many people talk about loneliness, but I hear so few people talk about vulnerability. I hear so many people talk about not being appreciated. And then I hear about so many people that are ungrateful. So we want the things we don't want to give. Okay? So people's job in your life is to give you what you already feel is too hard to do. And you get upset that people fail. Wow. That doesn't sound too nice. That doesn't sound too simple. Sounds like we need to do better. Sounds like we need to work at some things. Sounds like we need to make a couple of adjustments. Sounds like we need to check the books on ourselves. And that's what it's about. How often do you revisit moments? Do you revisit memories? Do you revisit choices? And say, you know what? I fucked up. That's on me. I was wrong. I went back and this is what actually helped me make the choice that I done. And I feel bad because that isn't the choice I would make now. You don't have to forgive me. I just want you to know that I'm sorry. I just want you to know that I know I messed up. Right. So, the brief one today. I'm going to leave you with that. As always, do not forget, like, follow, subscribe, share. Check us out on Instagram. Check us out on TikTok. Right? Yeah, that's pretty much it. Nice brief one. Today, in the comments, what are we going to go for? Let's see if we can play with some vulnerability. One time, or at least one time, that you realized you were the person at fault. That's what I'd like to know. Okay? Just one. All I want. Whether it's one person or 10 people, it doesn't matter. I literally just want to see who gets this far in the video and hears this little request. One time that you went back, if you think back to it now and you go back to it, you feel you messed up, and you can either take the easy route. I'll give you two options. You can easily take the easy route and just say, I'll go apologize. Big thing. Props to you for that. Or the slightly more difficult route, and obviously I'm not coming for like the most personal thing. I'm not trying to get your dirty laundry on social media. I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is, in the second option, something you are comfortable sharing, where you've already gone back and apologized for it. Okay, so those two, just to give motivation to other people, that sometimes your apology will not end in a good thing. Sometimes your apology will not end in a bad thing. You don't know until you do it. Okay, so that is the end of episode 2. Thank you for joining myself, Keegan, your ordinary host on the Ordinary Connection today. Remember,